Hello and good evening. In the last live, I had spoken about how to develop emotional intelligence in the children, and in this today's talk, I am going to discuss how to develop love and affection in the children. See, love and affection in the children is a very important growth factor. The children who are loved unconditionally, they develop a lot of confidence in themselves and they are able to thrive with a feeling of safety and security in the love of their parents and their families. So the point now is that you have to take pains for a scientific development of love and affection characteristics or behavior in your children and not spoil them by overdoing this caring and loving thing. The point that I want to know is that the security which love and affection of a parent and a family gives the children, it gives them the confidence to explore the world and take healthy risks. And you have to make sure that you are finding exact ways to balance the need for providing them love and affection as also discipline and direction. There has to be a healthy balance. You can't overdo one or the other. It has to be a balanced way, and then it has to be to the best interest of the child. There are many ways of demonstrating your love and affection for the child, as also to inculcate the feeling in them, and one of the best way is to spend quality time with them. And the quality time doesn't mean quality time for you, it also means, and in bigger sense, it means quality time for them. To spend time in activities which they love. And this is also an opportunity for you to develop the desirable traits in the children. Say, for example, reading. If you are able to read together, and slowly the children will get into a habit of reading, which also will be a positive side effect. And if nothing else, at least talk about their day. Just lie down, laze around, walk hand in hand, maybe over a small meal or a kind of a board game. Just talk to them, discuss about them, their day, allow them to express, allay their fears, answer their questions, and that is how you will show love and affection for them, which will give them the confidence to approach you if there is any problem or if they are facing any hurdle. The verbal affirmations that you love them, you show the affections by hugging them, by kissing them, by holding with their hands, by making them climb onto your lap, climb onto your shoulders, and just lie down in the bed with you, or you tell them that yes, I love you, show them the affection, so that is also a very useful way of developing love and affection from a very young age. And once they know that they are loved, they will be they will be inclined to love others also in equal measure, and help them out in their day-to-day activities. Do some kind of a act of service to them, in the sense that help them out in their homework, help them out in preparing their favorite meal. Say, for example, they want to eat something, okay, we'll do this thing, we'll make a salad or a cake or any kind of a small little toast or omelette with them, and they will be able to enjoy the that activity, and will be thankful to you later on that you have shown them the right way. Now, as the children grow up, there is a propensity to deviant behavior. The deviant behavior may not be intentional, it is just inclined by the child because he or she may be liking it, he or she may be comfortable with it, or he or she may be hating something. So there is some kind of a disciplining requirement of the child, but then that disciplining should be for teaching and not for punishing. There is a big difference in teaching a good behavior or a positive behavior and not punishing them for bad behavior. Now there is a book, very famous book, Whale Done. Whale in the sense the big whale fish, whale done, it is to say well done in the training of whales. So it is an old training school where they were training dolphins, and then after that they started training whales. And whales could be trained. So one of the best method was to neglect deviant behavior and to reward the desirable behavior. So if you do that, you can train anybody, and that doesn't sound like punishment also, and it is positive teaching. You can try this on your pets, you can try this on your children, you can try this on horses, and if the whales can be trained, anybody else can be trained. So balance between discipline and affection, and secondly focus on teaching and not punishing during discipline. Another issue is that the children, they have a very wild imagination, and they can be sitting and doing one thing for an end of day. They may be fantasizing depending on their age group and things like that. But the point is, if you do not give them a clear direction, a clear routine, and a consistency of expectation, that at this time you are supposed to do this, in this moment you are supposed to do this, in this reaction, in this situation you are supposed to do this. So if you do that, then clear expectations for behavior and follow through are going to help you in ensuring that the end result is what you want for the child to be. Now coming on to certain practical exercises which you can do with the child for building strong relationships, and this could be applicable for different age groups and for different developmental stages. So as I mentioned earlier, create a consistent routine so that the children are not confused. Then you can have some time every day where you can give them positive reinforcements. Actually, it should be done throughout the day, but then you can ensure that at least there is 1 hour where the children are just free from the day-to-day worries and chores and all, and they are sitting with you quietly, and then you can focus on positive reinforcement. Catch them doing good, highlight good choices, celebrate their achievements. So this is how you will be able to give them positive reinforcements. And then if you have more than one child, at the same time ensure that you spend quality time with each child separately. Find time, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, half an hour, when he or she is alone with you. It could be with a parent alone or with both the parents together, but one child at a time. So there should be exclusive time. When say the younger child is sleeping, you can have a one-to-one with the elder child. When the elder child is gone to school, you can have a time with the younger child. Or if they both are there, you can manage, you can stage manage the thing so that you can give them some individual attention, and they will feel attached and bonded. Then as I was saying, that routine should be there, in that you can schedule in family time, like a routine that you will have a dinner together, the whole family will have a dinner together, or we will have such and such practice before school going. Everybody will be together, and mother, father both will see of the children, or they will drop them to the school themselves, or when they return back, there will be somebody to receive them and have a one-to-one talk as to what happened in the school, what happened, homework, this, that, ye, wo. So those kind of a family time together and in a routine, expected manner will also help you do this. And another thing is, very important thing is, sometimes the child speaks and you are not present. Either you are busy on the phone, or you are busy on the laptop, or you are busy talking to some other elder who has come and visited, or you are busy in household chores or some office work or some such thing, and then the child is rattling up and down next to you, and you are not able to focus on what the child is saying. So you have to have that presence in the child's life. When the child is there, drop everything and pick up the child's words, understand, and then see. Also, in understanding, also you should be able to go beyond the words. You should be able to catch on the tone, you should be able to catch on the body language, you should be able to catch on the quiver in the voice, or some kind of a teardrop in the corner of the eye, or looking down, and so you should be able to catch on those mannerisms also and try to find out more about what they are not telling you. And there are a lot of government regulations against child labor, but the child labor is not a labor in the sense commercially cannot be exploited at home, but you must involve the children responsibly with some kind of a household work which is appropriate to their age, and you should be able to give them a sense of responsibility, sense of connection to the family, and sense of oneness when everybody is working as a team, and then they will feel attached. And also this will help you spend some together time which will be positive, which will be helpful, which will be overall contributing to the household neatness, efficiency, and save time and money, resources, and also be a learning tool for the child as far as his dexterity is concerned, his eye muscle hand coordination is concerned, as well as his mental sense of accomplishment, confidence, etc. So you can find age-old tasks for any amount of any variety or any scope of the childhood age groups, from 2 years to maybe 22 years, and they will be always helpful. They will remember it, and you will remember it, and spend quality time with the children whenever you can. So this is about it, and I just want to give you one or two examples of how you can encourage the children to have good habits. I'll just quote one example. When my elder son was very small, we had brought him Tell Me Why series books. At that time, they were very costly, and they were for a young army officer with a growing family, they were supposed to be quite costly. It almost cost nearly 1 month of pay to buy those books. And before that also we used to buy. At that time in 1986, 87, 88, the books used to be imported. Good quality children's books were imported, and we used to get him books at that time which was costing 30, 40, 90 rupees. And at times the books used to be torn and damaged and destroyed. But the point is that once he became about 6 to 7 years old, he was able to value the books. And when we gave him that Tell Me Why series, he devoured that, and thereafter he has become a maverick who loves to read, who's got very good English, and who has done very well in his professional career. So this is something which you have to inculcate at a very young age and effortlessly, without any pressure, without any push, without any punishment. So if you do that, I am sure you will have a very happy growing up association with the child, and thereafter the child will also be very happy because he would have got very strong foundation, and based on that he will have a very stable career, respect in the society, and that is what the parents are there for, to help your children grow into strong, stable and responsible children. And last but not the least, when you want to inculcate love and affection in your children, having family pets will also be very, very helpful. And the family pets will be there, harmless, beautiful, intelligent dog varieties or cats or even parrots, and wherever you can find big birds or even egg laying hens and things like that, or other animals. If you live in a farmhouse, maybe a pony, or if you have a dairy, maybe a cows and all. But then these small dogs, cats, etc., they are very helpful in making the children playful, making the children loving, and give them some kind of a sense of ownership. And last but not the least, there will be another thing. When these pets have small life span, so when, say, after 6 or 8 years or 10 years, when the dog dies, this will also be a very useful experience for your child to learn about life, and then grieve and be more strong. So on my part, I will expect the dogs to live for 100 years. But the point is, they don't beyond 12, 13, 14 years. But then if a loving dog of the family who's there with the child for 10, 12 years goes away, the child will feel hurt, he will grieve, but then he will become strong, and then he will know that life is passing, and so he will be able to love the existing living people more than before. And don't be cruel to anybody. Don't be cruel to the birds. Don't be cruel to the butterflies. Don't be cruel to even the honeybees, wasps. They are all having their own life. Snakes don't come to bite you. Have you seen any snake who's following a man on the road or on the bush to really bite him? They bite only when you step on them or they feel threatened. So, have love and affection, compassion for all living beings, and this gets transferred to your children automatically and gets them to have a sincere love and affection feeling for all living beings in their hearts. This gives rise to a very balanced life. This is all that I have to say. Thank you very much. Take care. Jai Hind and happy parenting.